missing somebody.
The rabbit.
No, no, she's part of the.
So Sarah, you want me to do 2 and 2 or 3 and 3? Time. Oh, I don't know where you started. Just a section. What is it? Of the piece? What's the most important piece that you want me to do in Spanish? Like the ask that we did yesterday to tell people. Okay, that's the most important just here.
Watch the virus on.
And I should also tell them to bring the legal papers.
So I think it's 3 and 1. So like 3 in English.
All right. Loudy, come this way.
You did your
Your first round. So you'll be ready. All right. We're ready to get started.
Sister Ann, come here.
No te castiguen. Which one do you have?
Sister.
¿Quieres verte acá?
Quédate aquí. Quédate aquí. Para que te vean. Para que te vean.
Ya se cansan de ver. No me canso de ver.
Erika, me prestas. Erika, me prestas.
Devuelve Carolina.
Ya presto.
Compassion over cruelty.
Compassion over cruelty.
Love it. We'll get started in.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Congressman Maxwell Alejandro Frost, and I'm proud to stand alongside some of the fiercest local advocates fighting to hold Donald Trump and his administration and this state accountable for a taxpayer-funded kidnapping program trafficking our people across the entire world that they're running under the guise of an immigration system. Here in Central Florida and across the country, we've watched as Trump's ICE agents abuse the rule of law, completely skirt over due process, and target non-violent people and working people. We're talking about mothers, fathers, grandparents, taxpayers, even folks showing up for their immigration hearings. Plainclothes federal agents are snatching people off of the street, wearing masks. These people are terrorizing our communities across the entire country and terrorizing our people here in Central Florida. And when they find them, we hear the stories that are completely heartbreaking. People are being held in detention centers described as hell on earth, where food, water, bathrooms, beds, and medicines are sometimes withheld, where basic dignity is being stripped away. I want to be clear. Being undocumented in this country is not a crime.
That's right.
A civil offense.
That's right.
No human deserves to be caged, brutalized, or disappeared for it. And no one is safe in this country. We've heard about U.S. citizens being wrongfully detained under Florida's extreme immigration enforcement policies. And this is what's happening across this country. It's a culture of fear and of chaos. The things you see go on in Los Angeles, that chaos that the Trump administration started, they want the money and resources in this big budget they're trying to pass to export that chaos across the entire country to all of our communities. I ask everybody watching, no matter who you voted for, was this chaos around our country before Donald Trump became president? No. He ran saying he wanted to make us more safe, make our communities more peaceful, but he's done the exact opposite and has scapegoated immigrants to tell you that they're the reason why you can't afford your rent. Immigrants have nothing to do with the reason you can't afford your rent or why you need 2 jobs or why you can't afford to send your kids to school. It has to do with the massive influx of wealth inequality in this country, billionaires and corporations that have been running the show for generations. We can't let politicians like Donald Trump pit us against one another, especially in Orlando and in Central Florida. We are an immigrant-filled community. We are a community filled of people. And yes, people are going to have different statuses. And to my Republican colleagues who say, I don't want any undocumented people in this country, I actually agree with you. So let's document every single one of them with a speedy path to citizenship. That's how we fix this problem. But this terror campaign of having masked people rolling up in vans, unmarked vans, grabbing students off of the street, trying to go into elementary school graduations, saying they're going to go into churches and rip people from the church pew as they pray, to put them in a facility where their family can't even find them, where their lawyer can't even find them, not knowing where they're at, how they're doing, what the conditions are, and then the one day to wake up and find out that your mother, that your father was sent to another country, and in many cases sent to a foreign gulag like in El Salvador. This is the reality of this nation right now and what's going on, and it's disgusting. It's not what our country is about. It's not what our country should be about. And so I'm proud to be here with advocates, organizers, lawyers, people who are fighting against this, to say we all deserve to feel safe in this country. We know we have a broken immigration system, so let's fix it. Instead of punishing those in this country, many of whom who have been our neighbors and been Americans for decades. For decades. We know we have an issue to fix here, but this cruelty is not the answer. This terrorism on our communities is not the answer. And so today, I'm very proud to be introducing the Stop Unlawful Detention and End Mistreatment Act, otherwise known as the SUDEM Act. This bill is a step towards pulling back the curtain on our immigration detention system and shining a light on what's happening in the shadows right now. The SUDEM Act would require ICE-operated and ICE-affiliated facilities, including private and local jails, contracting with ICE, to publicly report who is being detained, where they're being detained, when they've been detained, and why, the legal justification and evidence behind every single detention, facility demographics, age, nationality, legal status, and the data on use of force, disciplinary actions, transfers, and deportation. This bill, to be clear, does not fix the entire problem, but the purpose of it is to give tools to the legal community, to advocates, to organizers, and more importantly, to families to know what's going on with their loved ones. I just want to bring this up again because we have people, I just heard of a case, someone who worked at Universal, employee of the month, employee of the year, someone who's been working there for a long time, a member of our community, who was snatched up, has been sent to 3 or 4 different facilities, and now is in Texas. The family having a hard time finding out where they're at, how they're doing, even speaking with them. It's disgusting. And so I'm proud to be introducing this legislation with people who are doing the work behind me in this community to keep our people safe. And we have to talk about the lawlessness of this administration. They said they wanted to arrest elected officials, then they arrested a mayor in New Jersey. Then they arrested one of my colleagues, LaMonica MacGyver, who is facing federal charges for simply exercising her legal ability to conduct oversight on an ICE facility. Then, I'm in an oversight hearing talking to 3 governors. I asked them, what do you do if Tom Holman sends ICE agents to go and arrest you? And 2 hours later, Senator Alex Padilla in California is thrown to the ground and handcuffed simply for asking Kristi Noem a question about what's going on in his own community. This is lawlessness. This is terrorizing our people, our communities, arresting your elected officials. And so everyone has to know that the things you see on TV, it's happening here. This stuff is happening in our community right now. And they want to make it even worse. And so the SUDEM Act is one part of a huge puzzle in making sure that we can have accountability for this agency, ICE, that is completely out of control. We saw just yesterday, the New York City Comptroller, Brad Lander, was walking somebody, a constituent, from an ICE hearing, or from a hearing, and he was arrested and taken to the ground simply for asking for where the warrant was. People at home have to know, even if you voted for Trump saying, yes, let's get people out who are undocumented, this and that, something else you also have to know is that Trump is actively working to make more people undocumented. and rip away the legal status from more people in this country. Whether it's ripping away TPS, an extension that was lawfully given, and in my opinion, illegally ripped away from so many people. Whether it's the ripping away of the parole program that was put into place under the Joe Biden administration, pushed for and fought for by immigrant advocates and organizers. Or the most egregious case here, which is simply denying people the ability to claim asylum, which is the law of this land. And so, again, this is lawlessness that's taking over our communities, and everyone should know exactly what's going on. The last thing I'll say is, again, we have families that are losing loved ones, not being told where they're at, why they're being held, people living in this chaos, and it's taking over our country. And so I'm going to fight against it. We're going to all fight against it together. And this is really personal for me. You know, I'm the son of someone who came here as a Cuban refugee. I don't like to use my mom as a prop or anything, but she's even here, I think. Come over here. I know she's okay with it. I know she's okay with it. But just because she's here, I have to bring it up that my mom came here from Cuba as a refugee because our country said, come here, give me your poor, your tired masses yearning for freedom. That's how your congressman is a congressman right now, because she came here. Because our country lived up to its promise. Sorry, Mama.
And we love her.
And we love her. So, look, the last thing I'll say is if you're proud of what you're doing, you shouldn't need to cover your face to do it.
That's it.
And so these ICE agents, and we're going to put a lot of energy behind attacking the Trump administration on this. But we also have to talk about the agents themselves that are carrying this out. If you have any decency, quit now. Go do something else. Because just doing what you were told has been the justification for some of the worst horrors and crimes against humanity in the history of not just this nation, but this world. And we're seeing this unfold right before us. Now I'm going to pass it over to an amazing advocate and a friend from the Hispanic Federation, Lauri Campo.
Buenos días. Buenos días. My name is Lauri Campo, and Hispanic Federation is proud to endorse Congressman Frost Stop Unlawful Detention and End Mistreatment Act, an urgent need to step toward justice and accountability of our immigrant and detention systems. This legislation defends one of the most fundamental principles of our democracy, that no person, regardless of immigration status, should be held without due process, and no one should be subject to mistreatment, neglect, or abuse while in custody. Currently, law-abiding immigrants and even U.S. citizens are having their rights violated and mistreated at the hands of ICE. These violations are results of a broken immigration system. Hispanic Federation believes that fair and transparent system will lead to a stronger one, benefiting all Americans. And protecting civil rights does not compromise the safety of our community. On the contrary, it makes it stronger. At a time when the immigrants community in Florida and across the country are living in fear, this legislation provides a path forward. We have seen in the United States that this has become a place of fear, silence, and confusion for the hardworking individuals contributing to our communities. And what we want to say again, we endorse this act, what you, Congressman, have done and what you're doing and what you're proposing. And we ask all lawmakers in Congress to support this and stand in the right side of history. And I'm going to move over to Spanish very briefly. I want to say, esta legislación defiende los principios fundamentales de nuestra democracia. Que ninguna persona, sin importar su estatus migratorio, pueda ser privada de su libertad sin las garantías del debido proceso ni expuesta a condiciones de maltrato, negligencia o abuso de custodia. Proteger los derechos no compromete la seguridad del país, al contrario, la fortalece. Y nosotros como la Federación Hispana apoyamos esta legislación y le pedimos a los legisladores y congresistas que se paren en el lado correcto de la historia y no permitan que esto continúe sucediendo en este país. Gracias.
Next up, from Poder Latinx, Caroline Wasserman. Oh.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Carolina Wasserman. I'm the Florida State Program Director with Poder Latinx. We are a civic and social justice organization. I'm here today to talk to you about the 850,000 individuals who came to this country on TPS or humanitarian parole. These are individuals who have come and done the right thing. They came the right way. They came through process, and by no means of their own has their immigration status been revoked. These are individuals who are now fleeing violent crime, dictatorships, and extreme poverty. These are individuals who are now in a gap where they're trying to figure out their next step. It is very important that they right now find out how to find legal advice, because in our community right now, with what's going on with ICE, their transition makes them the most vulnerable. So it's very important that we also know that these are hardworking individuals who work in our parks, who work in hospitality, who work in all kinds of industries here in Central Florida. And for this reason, we also make the call out to business owners. It's very important for you to also have your support in this time of need, for those that work with you who are still trying to maintain status in this country. Thank you very much. And I want to give a few words in Spanish. Sorry, as well. Hola, mi nombre es Carolina, soy la directora estatal con Poder Latinx. Yo hablo de parte de los 850,000 personas que están aquí en TPS o en el parol humanitario. Estas personas se les ha revocado este estatus por consecuencia del presidente, no por decisión propia. Estas personas vienen a este país porque vienen de países donde hay dictadura o donde ellos encuentran violencia o donde ellos ven que la pobreza extrema vive cada día. Estos son personas que simplemente están tratando de trabajar y hacer una diferencia en nuestra comunidad. Son personas que trabajan en la industria hospitalaria, que trabajan en la industria que ayuda a la economía de la Florida. Es importante que nosotros también le digamos a esas personas que son sus empleadores, que trabajan en los pequeños negocios o grandes negocios, que nos apoyen en estos momentos, porque son las personas que ayudan a estas compañías. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. And now the State Director of LUAC, Ms. Claremont.
Thank you. My name is Aisha Clement, and I am the State Director of LUAC Florida, which is the League of Latin American Citizens. And as LUAC Florida, we support this act, the SUDEM Act, because the important is that, let's face it, one night we go to bed with the land of the free and the home of the brave. And one morning we wake up with the land of the slave and the home of the brave that they want to scare us. But we're not gonna allow them to scare us. We're here to speak for those who doesn't have the voice to speak. And here, as LUAC Florida, representing all the Latinos community, I'm here to say that we are here with you. You're not alone, and we're here supporting the Congressman Frost, Maxwell Frost, and this is amazing how we need to hold our leaders accountable. We educate the individuals that we need to go ahead and vote, but once we vote, then what? What then happens? So our community need to understand that as important that it is to go that date and cast your vote, it is important to hold those elected officials into accountability, because they're supposed to be our voice. They're supposed to be the one who defend our freedom, but they are just being silent. And I'm sure that most of the people that are watching here today, they did not vote for this. So we want to claim American back. Yes, let's make America great. The land of the free and the home of the brave. This is the America I know. This is the America I fell in love with. And I'm an immigrant too. Como les digo, una noche nos acostamos con la tierra de la libertad y la casa de los valientes. Y una mañana nos despertamos con la tierra de la esclavitud y la tierra que quiere amedrentar a las personas valientes callándole la voz. pero nosotros como líderes comunitarios no nos vamos a mantener en silencio. Nosotros vamos a hablar, porque esta América, la que puede ser otra vez la gran América, la tierra de la libertad y la casa del que es fuerte y valiente, nosotros la reclamamos hoy. Así que no te quedes callado. Tú vas y vota, pero después, ¿qué? Tienes el derecho, tienes el deber de que los que tú votaste, que pusiste en la oficina, sean responsables de sus actos. Y yo llamo hoy a mi comunidad hispana que lo llamemos a capítulo, a que tengan la responsabilidad por lo que nosotros lo pusimos en oficina. Gracias.
And from Immigrants Are Welcome here, my good friend Erica.
Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. My name is Erika Gomez Tejeda, and I am the organizing director for the Hope Community Center. And I'm also here representing the Immigrants Are Welcome Here Coalition. We're a coalition of 40 organizations, not just immigrant organizations, but attorneys, civil rights groups, the 50-50 folks, people who care about democracy, people who care about due process, people who care about humanity, who think that all of us deserve human rights, and that immigrants are not aliens, we are people. We are very grateful for this very timely bill introduction, Congressman Frost, because the number one problem that we're having in the community, especially in Orange County, is the fact that our people are disappearing. Immigrants are disappearing from the county jail. There are two reasons why this is happening. Number one, the county and the cities have signed on to the 287G agreements which they were required to. What that does is allows police officers to detain people while they're driving for driving violations and bring them to the jail. The second reason, right, that's hosting people for things as minor as a traffic violation and filling up the jail and turning it into a traffic jail. The county is 100% responsible for that. But what happens next is the time the person bonds for that minor traffic violation, the county has signed a different contract which houses ICE detainees. The moment that that person bonds out, they disappear from the jail system, and there is no way of knowing if they're still there, if they have been sent to Chrome, if they have been sent to Texas, if they have been sent to New Mexico. This is why it's most imperative that bills like this ensure that at the local levels, we have a way of keeping people tracked so that they can have representation and due process. The way that the administration is moving people from site to site to site without people knowing where their family members are is enabling them to violate people's due process. We saw that with the Juarez family, mother and father, who were both deported even though they had U visas. We're seeing it now with Mr. Hernandez, who's in the county jail right now, doesn't appear in the system, but has work papers, right? We're seeing it with mothers who are gone missing after they've turned in for deportation, and there's no record of where they are with their 2-year-olds and their 9-year-olds. We cannot be the United States of America in 2025 experiencing disappearances of human beings. There has to be accountability, and this bill does just that. In the meantime, the Immigrants Are Welcome Here Coalition have raised a community alert. We're calling it the STOP campaign. If you are detained, before you do anything, stop.
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 Thank you. Stop.
Stop.
Get the advice, seek the advice of an immigration attorney so that there's at least some hope that you will be able to have legal representations and your due rights respected. Estoy rápidamente muy agradecida con el congresista por haber introducido esta legislación, porque este es el problema número uno que tenemos en las comunidades en estos momentos. La gente en nuestra comunidad se están desapareciendo en el condado de Orange y se están desapareciendo por dos diferentes contratos que el gobierno local ha firmado. El 287G, que es necesariamente legal y que deja que las policías traigan a inmigrantes por violaciones tan pequeñas y tan livias como de tránsito, pero después de que esa persona paga la fianza, automáticamente se pone en parte de la del segundo acuerdo, el cual no tiene que ser parte. En ese momento la persona cuando ya paga la fianza, se desaparece del sistema de la cárcel. Pueden que estén ahí o puede que estén en otros lugares, no se sabe. Entonces, esta ley nos ayuda a asegurar que lo primordial es que tengas la transparencia para que tus abogados sepan dónde estás y cómo proteger tus derechos. Ayer la coalición de inmigrantes Somos Bienvenidos lanzamos la campaña de PARE. Es decir, que necesitamos que antes de que tú tomes cualquier decisión, debes parar y conseguir la ayuda legal de un abogado de inmigración para que por lo menos tengas la oportunidad de tener tus derechos respetados y que no te desaparezcas del sistema. Muchas gracias, congresista.
Just for language accessibility, I'm going to have Peggy from my office say a few words in Haitian Creole, so we have that as well.
Bonjour tout le monde, nom c'est Peggy Gustave. Jodi a me représenter office de Congrès Maxwell Frost. Là parce que à ce moment-là, un moment très important, nous avons pile membres de famille nous, haïtiens, espagnols, non saisissement qui paie pour y sortir parce que l'immigration dehors. Mais là ils prennent nous, ils mettent nous dans prison qui pas bon du tout. Bill ça que le Congrès a introduit, je dis la suspend maltraitement. La suspend pour y pas maltraiter nous encore. Somme dit nous je dis nous souhaitons que tout l'autre membre de Congrès a campé avec Congrès pour nous suspendre maltraitement de tout immigrant. Merci.
Thank you, Peggy. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. And if you're wondering who's fighting this lawlessness in Orange County, it's the people right here. It's all the people here fighting against this, but also more importantly, taking care of our community. So thank you so much and happy to answer some questions.
So, Congressman, do you think that Orange County and Orlando should revoke their current agreements with ICE? Is that even possible?
I know that the one of the agreements is mandated by the state, but we do want to see the county revoke the IGSA agreement, which is one that's not mandated by the state, which is the reason why we're seeing this influx of people being held at 33rd from across the state under ICE detainers.
Congressman, specifically what would your bill change about the local Orange County jail? What are the requirements that would be implemented?
Yeah. So what this bill does is require anybody who's being detained by ICE or under an ICE detainer being the ability for local law enforcement or folks that hold someone for ICE for up to 48 hours, that legally they would have to put forth data points and information that is put up publicly on a website immediately on who is there, why they're there, when they got there, where they're at, the legal justification and evidence behind each detention, the demographics of the facility, and then any data on use of force during the detainment and anything like that. That's currently not what's going on. That's why lawyers, families, people, once these people are snatched up from the streets, and in many cases, and we bring this up, we have many people across this country and here in Orange County or in Central Florida that are being detained when they're on their way to an appointment with the government of this country. You know, people talk about doing this the right way. These are people that are doing it the right way. They're going to their appointments like they have been for years, and they're going to the appointment, and when they walk out, what happens? They're snatched up by people wearing masks. That's going on in this country right now. And so they're snatched up by people wearing masks, and then they just disappear. No one knows where they're at. They don't know where they're at for weeks. And so what this does is make it so we understand exactly who's where. You heard about what's going on at 33rd. If you're a person, you get pulled over for speeding or whatever, they take you over to the jail. You're being held there for that offense. Once you post the bail, then what happens is they keep you there under the ICE detainer, depending on your status, and then they take you out from the system because you're no longer in the system for that specific offense that they originally detained you for. And now you're there with ICE. And that's the problem, is everything relating to ICE, there's no transparency. They're holding people in the basements of federal buildings to evade a federal law that says that members of Congress have to be let into detention facilities. I exercised this power I have by going to the Baker detention facility in Stark, Florida last year. I pulled up unannounced and said, you have to let me in as per the law. It's been an appropriations law since 2017 or 2018. They let me in. I saw horrible conditions. I spoke with detainees there that have said, look, I've been fighting this for months. Some people have been there for up to a year. And now they're saying, I'm begging to be deported now because the conditions are so bad. I'd rather live on the streets of Haiti than live in this detention facility. Many of these people not found guilty of any crime. They're being detained because of their status as they fight deportation orders. So this is what's going on here in the state. We see these horrible conditions at Crow. Glazer's reopened, which was closed down for being horrible, and then also at Baker and Chrome as well. But people are being held here. So what would this change? It would make it so that way anyone being held at 33rd under an ICE detainer, we know who they are, we know why they're there, and that information would be made available to attorneys, but more importantly to families who want to know where their loved ones are at.
What is the next step now for this bill that you're introducing?
So, yeah, so we've introduced the bill. My goal when I get back to D.C. is to get as many co-sponsors on the bill as possible from the Democratic side and have some private conversations with Republicans as well about it. There's some people we have to bring up in this press conference because we have members of Congress in the state of Florida that represent huge immigrant communities that are being impacted by this. And I'm talking about Mario Diaz-Balart in Miami. I'm talking about Carlos Jimenez in Miami, and I'm also talking about Maria Salazar in Miami as well. All three of them have come out and said, we disagree with the Trump administration on revoking TPS, on now deporting Cubans as well. There's a few Cubans in Miami. And we disagree with him, and we're going to talk with him about it. Nothing has happened thus far. So this is an opportunity for them to move it from words to action. Sign on to this bill so at least your constituents can help defend themselves through due process. We're not talking about anything illegal here. We're talking about the country living up to the laws of the land, and I think it's disgusting that people are being held in secrecy, and it's happening across the country. So I'm going to talk with some of these representatives that represent many immigrants of different statuses to try to get them on the bill as well. Yes?
When you mentioned the website, are you talking about like the jail websites, or like is it like another website where they're going to store the documentation, and who's going to verify that?
Yeah, so this would be depending on what the facility is. So if it's an ICE detention facility, it would be on an ICE web or on like a website. This is actually something that was more normal during COVID. When we were in COVID, jails and places where people being detained across the entire nation adopted more strict data protocols because of what the nation was facing. So we actually based some of this law off of some of the practices that agencies were following then.
Congressman, the Secretary of Defense last week authorized the mobilization of military personnel to the states of Texas, Florida, and Louisiana to help with ICE enforcement. What are your thoughts on how the public should take this? It's said that they're only going to be taking an administrative function, but what are your thoughts and how should the public take it?
Yeah, the public should be terrified about what the administration is doing in terms of putting, the people who took an oath not to a president, but took the oath to defend our Constitution, our nation. The fact that the Marines, active duty Marines, were sent to Los Angeles is disgusting. The fact that our men and women and people in the military that are signed up to defend this country are being weaponized against U.S. citizens and against Americans in our own homeland should terrify everybody. And something else we have to bring up that a lot of people are talking about is the executive memorandum that Donald Trump signed that weekend before he he federalized the National Guard in California. When you read that memorandum, not once does it name the state of California. Why? Because that memorandum actually applies to all states in the nation. All states in the nation. And actually what it reads is that he would be able to federalize the National Guard if there's a protest or if they think there might be a protest or some sort of uprising or whatever. So Donald Trump has essentially given himself the ability, illegally we have to say, to federalize the National Guard to squash people's First Amendment rights. The other thing I really have to talk about is this is all happening as Republicans in Congress and Donald Trump are trying to move forward a very evil piece of legislation. That's a huge bill that would rip away Medicaid, health care from 15 million people. So if you have family on Medicaid, if you know someone who has health care because of the tax credits through the Affordable Care Act, they want to rip that away from your family members, all to give billionaires and mega corporations a tax break so they can make more money. And within that bill, they would give ICE 10,000 more agents, $45 million more dollars to do this $45 billion more dollars to continue this terrorizing campaign of our communities. And these aren't two separate things going on. They're the same thing. Donald Trump wants you to be scared to go to the streets and protest. That's why he sent the military to L.A. Because the only way in this nation that you can rip away health care from 15 million people and not have protesters on the street or fear politically for your career is if you squash people's First Amendment right. These aren't two separate stories. It's not a distraction from anything. They're the same story. That's why he sent the military to L.A. as they passed this bill at the same time. And so it's important that we see this. It's not a distraction. It's multitasking. They're doing this to scare our people. But as we saw in Orlando the other day at City Hall, people in Orlando and in Central Florida are going to stand up for our neighbors, for our country, for our democracy. We're going to fight against the oligarchs, which are the billionaires and mega corporations that have been rigging this country for generations. We're not going to blame immigrants. We're not going to blame our trans neighbors for the fact that we all can't pay our rent. That there's a homeowners insurance crisis in this state and the governor's too worried about trying to run for president than he is on fixing the issue. We're going to stand together on all these issues because we see how they're all connected. It all impacts our families here in Central Florida. Any other questions?
How many locally do you think have been unlawfully detained?
Locally, I don't have a number. I don't know if anyone behind me. I mean,
Since we can't track them, we have no idea.
Here, come say that here.
We can't track them, so we have no idea, and that's the biggest. That's why this bill is so important.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. It's like as a member of Congress, I should be able to tell you. And in fact, if you were to ask this number to any of our local elected officials, they wouldn't be able to give you what you want to know. I also want to make sure that I shout out, our local elected officials, especially our state representatives, state senators are fighting hard in Tallahassee for us. We have State Representative Rita Harris here, who's been doing great work, and we really appreciate her. I don't know if you want to say anything. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
There's been a lot of whiplash with messages regarding workplace raids.
Yeah.
Last week the president had suggested he wanted hotels, farms, and restaurants to be exempt because
Yeah.
they're stripping important labor. Now DHS, they say they're continuing with these raids. What's your read on the current status of that?
The president is all over the place, and I'll tell you, the reason he put out that memorandum saying let's ease off of certain workplaces is because of the pressure from the people that is mounting up. And Donald Trump, for the first time, his poll numbers on immigration are underwater. More Americans don't trust him on immigration than trust him on immigration, which for a Republican at a national level, if you don't know a lot about politics, Republicans always win the immigration number. But now he's underwater, and it's because people are seeing that he's gone. It's not even about just going too far, but it's about creating this chaos in our communities that people don't want. And we see a lot of people, especially Latino or just immigrants who might have supported Donald Trump that feel like they were lied to, being very much impacted. And my message to everyone is, look, I'm sorry you were lied to, but join us as we fight against this so we can make sure that we stop it and that it never happens again.
So you expect those DHS operations to continue?
Yeah, I expect everything to continue. This is what they want to do. They want to terrorize our communities. They want to hurt people. And what I encourage people to do, if you want to help out, is get engaged with local organizations that are helping to protect immigrants locally. We at the federal level have to fight like hell. We have to throw out the way things have always been, because that's not how it is right now. Use every point of leverage we have to obstruct and delay this horrible and evil agenda, and fight to win elections in the midterm, so we can put accountability on this president. And people in his administration have been talking about, well, if the Democrats, win the House, they're they're just going to be subpoenaing, it's going to be a bunch of subpoenas and investigations. You're damn right. It's going to be a bunch of subpoenas and investigations. Tom Holman is going to be one of the first 3 people that we're going to have sitting in our chair on the Oversight Committee to answer to us why he feels like he can go and arrest senators, members of Congress, send people that are masked to go pick up our people in the middle of the street. So there is a lot of accountability that needs to be done. But right now, what I'm most concerned with is the fact that our local advocates, lawyers, and families don't have the information they need to properly and legally protect their own families. And that's what the SUDEM Act is meant to do.
You had mentioned to one of the earlier questions.
Could you do your call to action for the Latino community in Spanish too?
I'll do it after. Yeah. I'll do that after with if we have Telemundo here or anybody.
Yeah, so one of the earlier questions you had mentioned that you want the county to revoke their IGSA agreement. Have you spoken with county leadership, Mayor Demings, anybody like that about your position on that and where they stand?
I haven't yet, but I'll be reaching out to everyone. But we have great public servants at the county level, and I know they'll do the right thing. And so, but I'll be speaking with them about that.
Are the changes in immigration affecting foreign students and even our universities?
I'm sorry?
Are the changes in immigration affecting our foreign students here?
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is greatly impacting. And current students that are here from other countries, but also we've seen many colleges, universities actually start to deny people the ability to go to their local community college if their status is, ambiguous or they don't know what their status is, which actually hasn't been the norm. In this state, we've seen really great partnerships with our local community colleges that have accepted people regardless of their status. And I think part of what's happening is a lot of people are scared of the Trump administration. But if we bow down and we comply in advance, we're giving him power he doesn't have. There are a lot of people have to realize a lot of what's going on now is not law, has not been passed in the law. The Trump administration is not going to pass a lot of laws. That's why they're trying to do everything quickly, because they know once they lose one of these levers of power, they're done. They're not going to be able to do what they want to do. Look at this, the Doge bill they sent to us a week ago. It passed through the House because there are a bunch of sycophants and lapdogs. The Senate has said they're not going to pass it. It's not going to be passed into law. That's why this bill is so big. The budget is so big. Why is it so big? They get one chance. They're going to pass one bill that's big, this whole Congress, and this is their one chance to get it all in there. They're not going to be able to pass anything else. And that's why people also have to realize, even though things are scary, Donald Trump is also a weak president. Strong presidents can pass legislation, and then no one can ask questions about it. But the reason why about 45 to 50% of everything he's done has been struck down by a court is because he's doing through an executive order. Why doesn't he send a bill to Congress to get rid of the Department of Education? Because it won't pass. Why won't it pass? Because he's weak.
So do you think our universities are going to be affected in our local?
Our local universities have been very affected by what's going on in terms of immigration, in terms of targeting students because of their speech and taking away their visas. It's impacting foreign students that are here right now, but it's also going to impact us for decades and the way that other people see our country. Right now around the world, people are biting at the bit to come study in this country, to come learn in this country, to get a student visa, to come to our colleges and universities. But that's going to change. And who knows, they might turn to our adversaries to go to their countries to become educated. Who do we want educating the world? Our country or our adversaries? So all these people, they all talk about so much about national security, but they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. Any other questions? All right, everybody, thank you. Did I hear someone with this?
It was just a call to action in Spanish.
Yes, I'm going to give the call to action in Spanish to the Spanish stations afterwards. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Are you with them? Yep. Okay.
Actually, we'll make that call. Is anybody here want to speak about anybody who's in detention or knows anyone who's in detention want to talk about it? Somebody about that. And then